As promised, this is the exclusive workshop on how to easily build engaging conversations with social robots. Presentation, as I said, is brought to you by Furhat Robotics, our gold partner. Furhat Robotics has spent many years developing the software and tools that companies need to create their own customer interactions with social robots. And today we are going to witness the culmination of their research and development. Our presenter for this workshop is Nils Hagberg, who is the product owner at Furhat Robotics. He will give us a live demonstration of the cutting-edge capabilities of this Furhat robot. He will also demonstrate how and why the social robot is a perfect solution for those who are working from home. Working from home, of course, being the major trend nowadays. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a 1-hour masterclass. Nils, please take it away.
Thank you so much. And welcome everyone to this session. I'm sure some of you already saw Farhat earlier today. So I will not go too deep into what the Farhat is and what the Farhat can do. But I'll do a little introduction so we get to talk to the robot before we get started. And then my idea was to, here on the spot, together with you, create an interaction. A very simple interaction, because that's what we are able to create together here on the spot. But hopefully it can give you a sense of how easy it is to start creating interactions. And maybe we can dive into some of the topics that people should be considering when they're designing their own applications for social robotics, whether that is using this social robot or another social robot. And some of these tips might also even be applicable for other kind of spoken dialogue interfaces. My name is Nils Hagberg. My background is in computer linguistics, and I've been in the spoken dialogue industry for almost 10 years. And I've spent 2 years here at Furhat Robotics in Stockholm, Sweden. So I think my background reflects a lot of the background of many people at Furhat Robotics. We're not necessarily roboticists or computer software engineers, but rather people who are interested and have studied language, human communication, human-robot interaction, human perception, cognition, and so on. But of course, we have our team of hardcore software engineers that create our platform and solve our bugs as well. All right, so I'll get in front of the robot here. And let's see if we can wake her up and have a little chat. Can you wake up?
Greetings, human. I'm awake. What can I do for you?
Can you start by just introducing yourself to our guests here?
Yes, sure. I'm a Furhat robot, a social robot built to interact with people in the same way you interact with each other. So I can smile and nod and maintain eye contact while I hold a conversation with you. What you see here today is the latest version. The very first prototype was built already in 2011. I looked a bit more crude back then with cables sticking out from my head. They came up with the idea to cover the cables with a fur hat. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the name Furhat comes from. I don't really need my fur hat anymore. I look pretty as I am, don't you think?
Yes, you look lovely.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Tell me what you want me to do next.
Can you just wait a little bit?
All right, if you need me, give me the word.
So there you heard the origin of the story, the origin story of the name of the robot and also the name of the company. I think I actually removed the fur hat as we don't need it anymore, and it's a little hot to have it inside. Let me share my screen, and what I will be showing you then is a visual prototyping tool that is part of the SDK, the Software Development Kit that comes with the robot. And really, to create these powerful, engaging interactions, the preferred way to program the robot would be using the dialogue framework that is based in Kotlin, modern Java dialect. That's the preferred language for Android development. Some of you might not have heard of it, but
did you want me to tell you what languages I speak?
No, you can go back to sleep. Sorry for getting a little sidetracked there. So the Kotlin language, programming language, is a modern one, and there's plenty of resources online for someone who's not familiar with it to learn that. But today I'm not talking to programmers and software engineers. I'm talking to you, and for people who are not engineers and not software engineers and don't have so much developer experience, we have this visual prototyping tool that you can use to create simple interactions. Whether you're a designer who want to sort of design interaction, or just do a quick prototype, like a quick sketch of an interaction with a robot, or perhaps you are a business developer and you want to create a little demo to show to other stakeholders to get their energy and their buy-in into this idea that you have. Or perhaps you're an educator and you want to teach about social robots, spoken dialogue systems, AI, conversational technology, or just future in general. So without further ado, let me jump into that tool. I will share my screen here. All right. So in this visual prototyping tool, I have my little interaction here. And this is a very basic, simple interaction sorry. There we are. This is a very simple little interaction for the robot being able to greet you, ask you for a name, and how are you? And this may sound very simple. You can go back to sleep. This may sound very simple, but actually those simple interactions are really the ones that are the most difficult and complicated to get right. And generally speaking, these sort of open domain type of interactions that you see many chatbots are developed for, and some of the voice assistants, they also have this very open domain. You can ask them anything. That's typically a very difficult task to do with a robot, especially if you want to have a conversation and not just a command and control, Alexa, play music, Google, set a reminder, but actually have a conversation. So this interaction we're building here is actually a little bit difficult task. And what I'm showing you on the screen right now is a very basic flow. And we can run this, and if my demo gods are with me, it will run successfully. So let's keep going. Oh, maybe I need to refresh the page first. And as I mentioned about this visual prototyping tool, it's really something that's used to explore the robot. It can also be a good tool to learn the platform, the Furhat platform that you build interactions on. And it's part of the SDK that comes with the robot. And now in these pandemic times, we have opened up the SDK for the world to try out. So if you would find this interesting, you can go to our website, furhatrobotics.com, and there's a button there to request the SDK. And you can try it out yourself. And everything you're seeing me doing here today, you can do it yourself using the virtual Furhat on your laptop. Let's see. I think I need to just restart. The browser here seems to have got stuck. There we go. Okay, let's run. Hello. I feel great. Hello. I feel great. My name is Maria. Okay, so this interaction, it's very structured and there's no freedom to say different things. So let me show you another version of this interaction where we have developed it a little bit further. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna bring up a little bit later version more still. So here we've made the interaction a little more complicated. So in the greeting stage, I can say more things than just simply hello. When asks for how are you, I can say more things than just simply I feel great. The natural language understanding of the robot will take care and process many different ways to express how I'm feeling. And I provided a couple of examples here in the orange box here. I'm not sure you're able to see the writing there. It might be very small for you. And also for the what's your name question, you notice there that I said my name is Maria because that was the only thing that the robot was programmed to understand there. Now I've added building blocks so it can recognize my name and repeat that back to me. So this is essentially the same interaction, but just a little bit more advanced. And let's try that. We've been having some network issues in the building today. I seem to be having some network issues again here between my computer and the robot. My browser seems to be a little bit stuck. Okay, so let me move on. There are many aspects of building a social interaction or interaction with a social robot that are very important and that's separated from other types of interactions. So it is a situated interaction. The robot exists in a physical environment. So it needs to be able to react to its surroundings. So it needs to maybe start interaction, when a user appears in front of it. And it maybe needs to understand that I'm looking at the robot or I'm looking at another user and being able to incorporate that into the interaction and having that a more intelligent turn taking, knowing when to speak, knowing when to be silent and wait for the user input. And this is a design question for the person creating the interaction. And other aspects of that social awareness could also be just actually the physical place where it's located in. We had the robot in some trials at an airport. And when you place the robot next to the customer service counter, the information counter, people will ask it questions that they would normally ask those people. If you put the robot next to the flight boards where all the timetables for the flights, people ask it questions, where's gate so-and-so and the kind of question. So the physical space is very relevant to the interaction. And typically that's not something you have to take into account if you're building a chatbot or if you're building a voice assistant, because you don't really know the physical space, where they are. And it doesn't really matter in the interaction either. Our robot, if you ask, where's the toilet, it can actually look, oh, it's over there to your left. So that's an important aspect to take into account. And let's see if I got my interaction up and running here again. Okay, I'm actually gonna stop sharing my screen here. And let's see if that will work. Like I said, I'm having a little bit of network issues, and now I seem like my browser has typically crashed. So I'll continue talking, and hopefully you will be able to see me as well. So I mentioned there about the physical interaction being very important in the interaction, and this is of course especially true in these pandemic times. And this hasn't really been an argument for having the robot. When you have a physical robot, it doesn't infect people, or there's no risk of contamination. So that's obviously a use case that sort of sailed up in recent times. But I think one thing is important to talk about when you talk about Corona and helping to alleviate the pandemic, is that you will likely see in the news some robots being deployed. Most of them sort of more utility kind of use cases, where they would automatically sanitize a hospital environment or something like that. And you might have come across different robots that can detect if a person is wearing a facial mask, and then of course instruct them to wear one if that's the requirement. And I think this is a potential use case, but let's be a little bit careful here, because do we really want robots to tell us what to do and to control us and to make sure we are following rules? Like, are we building police robots? Is that what we want these social robots to be? There are other use cases where you can use the robot in this situation. A lot of people feeling a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry. And perhaps a social robot can help us handle those feelings. So for example, if it's standing at the airport giving information and recommendations, it can do so by looking in your eye and showing empathy, and maybe reacting to your reactions, and be able to see if you're paying attention or not. And also, it can be a chance for people to address their concerns or ask questions without feeling observed by a human being, and they are being judged for their questions or for their comments or whatever they are talking to the robot about. And I'm gonna simultaneously try to do a little tech support with my browser here, but it seems to be down and out. So another important aspect of the social robot applications that you need to consider when you're designing it is that it has to be fun. It has to be delightful. When you're building a chatbot or a voice assistant, that's typically not a necessary feature, because it's a screen. You don't really have that emotional connection or that emotional feeling when you're talking to a screen or when you click on your app. But when it's a person with a face and that looks you in the eye, it needs to have a personality, and you need to create a connection between the robot and the person. And if you don't give it a personality, it will have the default personality, which is bland and boring. So really having a copywriter or someone who can create good dialogue to really create engaging interactions, and it includes maybe some humor or some empathy or some of these other typically human emotions and human ways of communicating that can be very important in these type of interactions. Then, of course, what the robot can do is not only these sort of more fluffy things. You, of course, also have these very real sort of value-adding use cases that can cut costs in your organization or make you more effective and so on. But that is something that I guess it's shared with other conversational interfaces as well, like chatbots and voice assistants, or just simply web pages or other kind of systems. Another thing to consider when building your interactions is that it can never fail. It can never die. When you're building a chatbot or a voice assistant, there's a lot of tolerance for failure because it's not really a person. And I know my colleague Charlie, he liked to bring out this example from let's see if I can pronounce this. It's ventriloquist, the people with the puppets. They have this concept of sort of puppet death. When you break that illusion or break that feeling that the puppet is alive, then something is lost, and the show cannot go on anymore. And that is something that is is something to always pay attention to when you're building interaction, to make it a complete interaction. The start interaction and the end of the interaction is very important. And I say this, and the robot is staring blankly with the zombie look into space there, which is typically not how the robot will behave in a situation. Right now, he's doing it because I'm running that simple interaction. Hello, how are you? What's your name? That you saw before, and it will end not so nicely. We often get a question, sort of how to get started, how long does it take, what kind of competencies are required to build interactions with robots. And I like to talk about the sort of holy trinity of creating skills. I'm actually gonna turn on my demo sidekick again, so maybe she will be moving around a little bit and feeling less, making me feel a little bit less uncomfortable. So now she's sleeping. That's good. So the main competences, you need someone with some programming background, preferably into some kind of conversational technology, chatbot, spoken dialogue interaction, voice assistant, and so on. Doesn't necessarily have to be a skilled programmer. Doesn't necessarily have to have experience in Kotlin, the programming language that the SDK comes on. Me and other people in the interactions team, we didn't have any experience with Kotlin, and we're happily building interactions with the robot without any issues. The second competency is that more business-minded person, and typically someone who can think about the physical interaction, the physical space. What is the use case? What kind of questions will people ask if you put it here? What does it need to do if you put it in this situation? What are good use cases to start with? Should we start with a customer-facing use case when we're going to deploy this in our interaction? Or are we going to start with something more low risk internally with our employees? And the third competency is like UX design, to really think about this from the user perspective and creating engaging dialogues that has character, and it's a little bit fun and delightful and can surprise, throw in a little surprise to make people smile. And this is especially true when it comes to error handling. I'm going to take a little sidetrack here. Error handling is really something that people notice. I think everyone has had this interaction with a machine and where it feels like it's stupid. It's keep asking me the same question over and over. Sorry, I didn't understand that. Can you please repeat that? Sorry, I didn't understand that. Can you please repeat that? Having that intelligent error handling, and also like human and natural error handling, is really key to create interactions that people like to interact with. There are lots of little tips and tricks you can do there to change a bad situation into a positive one. So for example, if the robot would ask me for my name, what's your name? And I would say my name is Nils. And for some reason, the robot didn't understand that. Maybe the speech recognizer was something happened there. And the typical answer would be, sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat it? And I would have the feeling of, failure, and that didn't work, and disappointment. On the other hand, the robot could also say, I didn't quite catch that. I'm just going to call you my new best friend, and keep the interaction moving. And I will think, that was fun. That was delightful. And I'm his new best friend, and I have positive feelings. So in designer that can create interactions and dialogues that really uses that feelings of people that they have when they interact with the system. If you can get that competency to work with robot, that's key. And the timeline, how long time does it take to create these kind of interactions? The interaction that you saw I did before, I created in 15 minutes. So that's the low end of the scale. We've had our interactions team internally churning out 2 demos a week, 3-man team. They are, of course, social robotics professionals. But if you're doing these quick demos and these quick iterations, that's the kind of speed you can have, like weekly updates and weekly demos. But when you're thinking more commercial deployment, then we talk more about at least a 10-week project or even a 6 months project to create a MVP, a minimum viable product, or at least a prototype that you can test with real users or show to a manager and have a company demo to see their reaction and their thinking on what you've created. And the real message that I want to leave you with today is that creating these kind of interactions is very complicated and difficulty, but it's really fun and it's really an explorative process. No one really knows how to do this. So we really invite the world to participate and try out. And you can start with the SDK. Request the SDK from our website. We can give it to you. You can try it out if you feel like, hey, this is interesting. I was maybe able to connect it to some other backend system that I have that makes the robot relevant for me. Then you can of course reach out to us and try to get your hands on the physical robot, because that's such an integral part of the experience. And really learning by doing. You can't make a plan for these kind of things. There are many of our customers who really their starting point was getting a robot and then seeing, okay, what can we use this for? What happens when we give this to our developers? What happens when we put this in front of our customers? We tried to do an interaction, turn out, we were completely off of what the value would be from the robot, but instead we found the value in this other scenario. So really be iterative and explorative with how you think about using this robot in your businesses. I think I should be starting to wrap up. I want to be mindful of your time. Sorry for the little technical hiccups we had here. We've been doing this all day, and I think my computer here that's running the camera and the microphones is struggling a little bit here to keep up. But I hope you will be able to follow along in my presentation anyway. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you'd like to learn more, we have a booth, so you can drop into the booth and have a one-on-one chat with us. That would be great to hear your feedback as well. I'll do a last-ditch effort here to see if I can get my browser back up. It seems to be completely dead. Again, thank you for participating. And if you want to check out the SDK, go to our website and request it. If you want to learn a little more about the robot or talk to us in person, go to our booth. I will go there shortly, and we can have a little one-on-one chat. Thank you so much.